I'm John Robertson. This is Ryan Thomas. We're here to talk some Evolve, what's it like to become an esport later on, and how involved is the DH rule going to affect being a monster? Let's listen to it. So we have here Ryan Thomas. Ryan, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Ryan. Currently, I am exclusively playing roguelike likes. And here today, I'm going to review something completely that's making me feel like an old man. An old video game man today.
Especially console FPS, which is granularly probably a lot harder than...
Oh my god. It's like figuring out a clip for the first time.
Yeah.
I can't get used to the stick controls. I still need a mouse and keyboard to do anything that regards a first-person shooter, so this is going to be a mess.
Yeah, so we're talking about Turtle Rock's Evolve. It came out a couple weeks ago, and I've been jamming deep into this thing. We got to go to the launch party on February 2nd, and the reason why the review is this far along, because I've been having a ball playing the game. So let's talk about the launch party and what that was about, because that was literally introducing people who have never played before into Evolve.
Well, I walked in naked. Yeah. I walked in, honestly, I had seen 2 clips of Evolve, had to bite into it. First of all, the level of launch party has gone up so far. I think it's the logical evolution from standing outside in the cold and hating yourself to buy a game at a, GameStop or whatever else. I would much prefer to go home and download it in the privacy of my own house.
Yeah.
After spending an entire night playing a game. That's the correct answer. Going forward, that is the only logical solution.
Yeah, I was very having been to the Assassin's Creed parties and a couple other videos. Oh, hey, buddy. And that's Mr. Again. If you listen to the D&D podcast, you've heard the cat of the swampland.
Sad cat.
Sad cat. Sad attention cat. But it was probably one of the better ones I've been to. Just the look of it, the feel of it, you felt like you were either being hunted or you were hunting something yourself. Like just from not even the game itself, but just walking in where you have the trees, like a big narrow path, and you don't know what's on the other side, and all of a sudden, bam! Video game consoles everywhere.
To be clear, they took a 100-year-old elevator to the 6th floor in an old building, and when it opens up, they've actually extended about 8 feet of trees and green jungle lighting and actual smoke machines going off. So the elevator opens and you step into this, bizarre forest-like creation into just a sea of Xboxes. Just wall-to-wall Xboxes and the sound and the fury of this game playing. I think it was a fantastically done event. I gotta say, the feel of that was right.
Yeah.
I like when Ubisoft takes over a gigantic bar, because it means I can drink a beer.
Yeah.
Which I'll never complain about. It makes everything easier when you're playing a game for the first time. But other than the venue not having an open bar, I have to say, it was excellently done. The level of play was already incredibly professional and getting very serious, which I think is... The nature of this is it goes really quickly into a very serious competitive game.
They set the tone right away because everyone walked in and was like, oh yeah, we're going to play some Evolve, play some Monsters, goofy stuff's going to happen. Then the MC running the event for the Battle Royale said, oh, by the way, the prizes for this Battle Royale is going to be an Xbox One and a copy of the game. And then it got super serial after that.
Yeah, it was stone cold faces. It was a whole bunch of people coming out in negative 30-degree weather, with a definite Evolve chip on their shoulder. Like, it was serious, the level of competitive play that was going on.
That lineup was huge. All of a sudden, it wasn't about coming to celebrate the game. It was like, I'm going to come and wreck people at this game.
Well, win an Xbox One, right?
Yeah.
Be a hero. And they were really serious about it. Now, I gotta say, something I noticed right away when we walked into the room is there are 2 definite color palettes to Evolve, and you could tell when action was happening, which was really cool because if you've never played the game or if you've only seen the clips online, you're going to see 2 distinct color palettes, and one is the entire...
Is it black and blue or white and gold?
It's black and blue and white and gold. It's definitely both. The whole first one is dark and grimy. It's very muted colors. You know,
It's
there's
got
these
a Ridley Scott alien type of feel to it.
very Wrigley Scott, very alien. You're watching. If you're playing the monster, you can sniff out everything in your domain. And your job at the beginning is to definitely, if you haven't played this yet, you're probably behind. It's been everywhere. But you can see the smell lines. You can see the light outlines on the washed out grays. When you go into a smell mode, it's deliberately black and white. Mm-hmm. The whole palette of the game is muted. And what you'll see when you walk into this room is, you know, we saw probably 40 Xboxes, 40 big screen TVs going. And all of a sudden, a monster would, or a hunter would catch a monster. They would throw down the mobile arena. And suddenly...
It's an explosion of color.
It's an explosion of color. It's blue backgrounds. Like, the Cage does so much for that right away.
Yeah.
You see these huge blue backgrounds. You see, all of a sudden, the harpoon lines are shooting off everywhere. Every single character
yellow
class.
fire, red orbital explosions, like blue shields being thrown out. Like it's
even to give it that sense of intensity, they've done such a good job because one of the characters has a poison grenades.
Yeah.
Who is that?
That's Hyde.
Yeah, so Hyde is he's like one of the assault classes, like the heavy damage classes. And if he hits you with a grenade, suddenly you're seeing your whole screen is going green with electric blue lines in the background, and then there's harpoons sticking out of you, and the audio matters so much in this game. I played my first one and the headphones didn't quite work, and it's like playing naked. You cannot do it. You play in this silent sense of tension, and then all the lights on your screen explode like a strobe. You know, like gunfire is rattling off the canyon walls. It's incredibly intense instantaneously, and the pressure level just completely jumps.
If you want an absolute serene moment, take that moment, like the green gas grenades, like the blue shield lines, the green healing lines, and like explosions and fire. Then hit sniff mode, and everything just goes muted gray again, and the sound volume goes kind of down. You're like, oh, okay, this is intense.
Now, I have a serious problem. I think the sniff mode is designed as a button placement to ruin Xbox One controllers and increase purchase placement.
Oh, man.
You live on it for 2 levels straight. It's the only way to get that little bit of extra warning. It's that only way to really see the birds that are sitting on the ground directly in front of you. Birds, trees. If you're playing the monster, you're trying to sneak, you're trying to get around the opposing team and eat smaller creatures on the screen. And when this is happening, you're basically living with your finger pressing down on the right trigger stick while trying to play, which is not... In no way is it an ideal button placement. They make you work for it. In a perfect world, you'd have it down all the time.
Yeah, it's because the left trigger button is set to sprint mode. But it's funny that you say that because the sprint mode for Battlefield and Titanfall is the left joystick trigger, and the right one is getting just as much work out now. Because I imagine people who've played FPSs on the Xbox on consoles have probably worn the shit out of their left side. The left side. I was like, all right, let's get that right side to work out. Like, wait a minute, which stick is getting the least amount of use on it? The right trigger. Let's go with that.
And I mean, like, if you play driving games, I know it's always the right stick. It's always the right stick. Having it closer to the actionable buttons that are your jump, that are your a couple of your special abilities are on the Y and the X key on the top. So it makes sense that it's there. In all logical placement, it totally makes sense. It's just... when you're playing as the monster, you want to live with that button pressed down. What does it do on the hunter side? Does it do anything pressing it down?
Oh, yeah. It sets target location. So you can, when you see something, you put your targeting thing on it. So you can put target points on the map. Okay. So you'll put down a little dot. Everyone can look through the map and see it.
Yeah. And communication is important in this game, right? Like, the gameplay is 100% asymmetrical. I have some theories about... This game is perfectly designed to be a MOBA. Mm-hmm. It is designed to be the first-person shooter entry into the MOBA market, and it is 100% designed to start an argument about professional teams and the designated hitter rule.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, you've got you play a team of 4. I played a game with a pickup game, never having played it before. We never actually found our monster. Huh. It was embarrassing. It was 10 solid minutes of me chasing the dog Daisy, the tracking dog Daisy, and literally never coming across this monster. It was the most infuriating 10 minutes of my life. This guy was really good. And having a team that's playing a pickup without, in a loud environment, without the ability to properly communicate, right away you're seeing the difference of good communication. So that thumbstick, they've made the right stick really important.
It feels almost like the old school Counter-Strike teams are going to come out. and play this game.
Oh, 100%.
Because that's what Counter-Strike is in like the old ways. It's just like you come out and like, you know, oh, I've got hallway, you know, like you call out your choke points, like, oh, I've got the box, I've got the crate, and then you sound off when people go by.
Yeah, you know what you're doing. You know where your team is and how you're communicating. And that, like, we saw there's one map that is very much a figure eight, which is crazy because the central objective is put directly in the middle that both the hunters and the monsters are trying to defend, the monsters are trying to attack eventually when it gets to level 3 and it gets big enough to fight back. The map is sphered in 2 halves. Mm-hmm. And with a good hunter team, you can control that. You can know which half of the map you're basically looking at with a couple key placements or a couple key characters. Mm-hmm. That is incredibly important to communication in this game. And I think you're going to see it get more intense as teams form. It's not hard to put together a 5-man team. It's like you played EverQuest Online and you were like, we need a team of 200. And then it's like, I need 40 men for a raid. And that was a lot of work. And now we're down to like 5 extremely talented players in a game that's designed to be watched. I can't stress this enough that this is a MOBA entry. The game starts with this very asynchronous play. Hunters are trying to catch the monster. Monsters try to sneak around, eat enough creatures to evolve into a large enough form. That gives you a narrative portion where if you wanted to talk about the players on a team, if you want to talk about their rise in this tournament, all of that is designed it's perfectly designed for an announcer against the muted colors, for an announcer to discuss the team, for all of a sudden these lights that we're talking about, this color and palette swap happening.
And the way it goes, because the perks and the skills and the monster skills are, again, very MOBA similar, MOBA-like, if you will, where you have 4 sets of skills, 3 points in each skill, and you'll never be able to max out each of them. On the flip side, for the hunters, they all have different perks and all different skills, so you're playing, and it's kind of paper, rock, scissors, where everything has a hard counter to it, but it's a hard counter if that person's put all their skills into that power or if they put it somewhere else. Like, for example, Maggie and the Kraken is like a perfect example. Is that you put those harpoons up, that Kraken's coming down, it's not flying anywhere. But if the person who's playing the Kraken puts all their points in like the big area effect aftershock, and then everyone swarms the Kraken, well, guess what? Everyone's getting blown up in like about 3 seconds. So it's interesting to see, because I remember watching the Geekp0n, or what was the Steam documentary about Dota, where one of the big scenes was where in the finals they were talking about which characters they're choosing, which characters they're Xing for.
It's the most important part. It's picks and bans.
Yeah.
And I was wondering about that because the promissory note, Kotaku had the whole article about this game that, okay, there was 100 ways to buy Evolve, and every different way came with different unlocks, which was basically them showing their hand in a really delightful way. I doubt there was a monetization scheme as much as it was a way to be like, we're promising so much more content.
It was not even monetizing. It's skins and unlocks. Like I didn't get a pre-order, nor did I get any of the DLC, and I unlocked all the characters. Like it's
not that hard, yeah.
Yeah,
but there are more coming, right? There are a ton more characters coming.
I don't think there's any more hunters coming. There's a new monster coming called the Behemoth. That'll be in the DLC, and there's a couple of new maps coming as well.
If this goes, I will put money on it. I will come back here in a year's time, and if there is a competitive scene that is pushed around Evolve, I guarantee you what you will see is it will move over to the same sort of model of constant releases of new characters and new patches. Mm-hmm. I'm sure once this game feels like it needs a pick and a ban system.
Yes.
There are just certain combinations of hunters are a key role in the team for tracking the monster down.
Yeah.
Catching a wraith with certain characters is near impossible.
Yeah. So as I was saying earlier when we were playing, that wraiths are so fast and so tricky that I know more often than not when I've thrown the mobile arena down, I've caught a decoy more often than I've caught the wraith. The only times I've caught the wraith when I was like, and to touch on what the senses you have to use is that it's a game where you have to use all your senses. Like you have to look, you have to listen, you have to talk, you have to think. So you have to use all those things. I consider myself a pretty good trapper now. That when I start off, I find the highest thing I find the highest point I can, and then I look around and say, all right, what's going on? What's the environment telling me right now? What do I hear? What do I see? The only thing you're really missing is taste and smell. But it's like teaching you, like, all right, there's a tree knocked down over there. Well, I know the only thing big enough on this planet to do that is a monster. I'm going to go that way. Yeah. Footprints are going off in the opposite direction, but the tree got knocked down over there, so that's the way I'm going.
So they actually prioritize visual over the automatic responses.
Yes. Well, visual, audio, there's little birds that when the monster gets near, it'll do like a high-pitched screech. And I was teaching other people the other day that we were walking along and I heard it off to my left. And I was like, oh, we got to go that way. Like, wait, it's actually going like off to the right. Like, no, but the bird makes that sound when the monster's around it. And it came off to my left, so I'm going that way.
So if somebody's listening to this podcast and playing Evolve, they're probably losing for a reason.
Yes.
Which is they need the audio. You have to have the audio on for this game.
Yeah, and you have to have your try-hard hat on. Like, you can't. You have to think about what you're doing. It's not Team Fortress 2, and I love Team Fortress 2, but it's not you can just run and gun and like shoot.
Well, that's rote. The thing I think I played on ocean of PC Team Fortress before Counter-Strike gave you crates with expensive guns, before hats were a big deal, I played a lot of Team Fortress. And you play enough of it, and it's rote. It's the same maps. It's know your role, play your position, and position doesn't change very much, right? The turrets are going in the same place. You know what's happening. You know how to behave against them. This, it feels like, because the gameplay is so asymmetric, somebody with good hand-eye coordination who doesn't know what they're supposed to do can play an extremely disruptive monster. Like, when you're expecting, okay, so they're landing on this part of the map, you're expecting them to probably go in this direction because it's optimized for grabbing this, this, and this, and it's the fastest way. Eventually, I'm sure somebody will figure this out, what the fastest path through a map to get the correct creatures is. Mm-hmm. To evolve in under 4 minutes and
actually,
be ready to
here's
rush.
the thing, though, is that the creatures are always randomly generated.
So they've got the roguelike element that I like, yeah. So that's what's disrupting it, right?
The only thing that are guaranteed is that there's always going to be two big monsters or two big animals on the map. One will have a health regen, the other one won't. And they're even at level 3, they're kind of hard to fight. Like you're going to be losing some health and armor to get this buff, but you got to figure out which one it is. That's the only consistent thing that there is.
And I mean, like that plays back into this idea that this is a game that is. I would say, as somebody who, I do not enjoy first-person shooters on a console. Yeah. I just have a problem with the buttons. I could 100% on a Sunday afternoon, deeply hungover, turn on a Twitch TV, see a stadium full of people, see, 2 teams of 5 stand up and they tell me this is Korea's best Evolve team and they're going up against these kids from Southern California and, they just got a brand new designated monster in and this is going to be, for all the marbles, the $1 million prize. I could totally see the game going that way because I could watch it as that narrative evolves. Mm-hmm. Because, a smart hunter team is going to know if those 2 monsters are on different sides of the map with the health buff. If you get a good start, if you catch the monster early, you can shred through the armor, and health it's hard to get back. So you can shred through a monster, bring it down to 2 hit points worth of, or 2 bars worth of hit points, which is really not much at all. Yeah. Not much at all.
That's an orbital strike and it's gone.
Yeah, it melts. You get a monster down early, and then they escape you. They start playing a really good game of stealth and hide and seek, and you know that they're quickly evolving, that they're getting some hit points back, but they're missing a big chunk. Maybe they'll get it 50% of the way up. Knowing they'll have it 50% of the way up means knowing that even if you can't catch them, you know that before they make a big push, they're going to have to come back around. Mm-hmm. If I was narrating, if I was sitting there in a commentator's booth, that's a golden situation. Yeah. You're like, the monster and the team both know, or the hunters and the monster both know that they are going to have to grab this health buff before coming back in. It is a guaranteed at this stage in the game. It is too much pressure not to. And then, then you get into the meta game, right? What happens when the hunters at level 3, instead of defending their objective, actually move out to the monster buff because they know that, every monster does this, and this guy doesn't and attacks the base, and then you play this back and forth game. It's all right there to be narrated like a great sport.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of good, again, not since, I'd say Half-Life, or I'm just trying to go through, it's tension and suspense that, because everything's so fluid and everything is on a tilting x-axis of you don't know which way this thing's going to go because there's so many variables that are being thrown at you. It's tense. When you first play the monster, you get this godlike power. I'm going to destroy everything. Then you quickly realize I have no power whatsoever. It's like a pendulum swinging. That all the powers on the hunters at stage 1, stage 2, or even stage 3, all the powers of the monsters. But it's still tense because one silly, stupid mistake, and you've lost any advantage you've had.
Or there's something you're never supposed to do as a hunter. You're never supposed to go off on your own, right? Somebody moving to the wrong side of the pillar at the right time, and suddenly they see you, and suddenly your advantage is gone because somebody did something they are definitely not supposed to do. There's a risk reward built into that. It's baked in.
And I think that's credit to Turtle Rock, is they also did Left 4 Dead, where they essentially this is like the tank game from Left 4 Dead, where it's like, but they still hold true that you have to work together. If you go off on your own, pretty good odds that you're going to get killed. And because it's a game of micromanaging, even the smallest mistake will cost you the game.
And another Turtle Rock game where players with an extremely amount of experience were playing the game in a way I had never seen before and literally walked all over me. There is definitely a skill cap that they're putting at a very high level. You know, when you saw somebody who could play the monster that would lash out at you with its tongue in Left 4 Dead.
Oh, this smoker.
The smoker.
Yeah.
When somebody would play a smoker properly, absurd. Yeah. It punished you. And the same thing, this is a very, very hard game. And you can feel it's being designed for a level of player that is much, much more invested in the game. It goes right back. It's this eSports point I can't get away from. Like, I drop into a game of Call of Duty, and a Call of Duty game, the map feels crowded, I die, I respawn, I die, I respawn, I'm back in, I'm back out.
And that's the point of Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, the punishment isn't there. It's like, a terrible metaphor. It's sort of like opening 40 windows of YouTube. Like, you can watch whatever you want, whenever you want. And this is very much like something you have to be completely invested in. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it's apples and oranges, really. And it goes to their credit. You had said... You've said, like, Game of the Year already? You're talking, up there?
It's up there. Like, the only thing that would not get it is Arkham Knight coming out. Like, unless Arkham Knight completely tanks it, because I think Arkham Knight... I think, on another rant, I think Rocksteady is going to kill Bruce Wayne at the end of it. Like, my own theory is, like, because the start of the game, Bruce Wayne's in pain. He's got to have, like, the Iron Man mecha suit because all his bones have been broken multiple times. Like, arthritis is caught up to him. He's only like 38.
Okay, we'll get this. We'll get to Batman when it comes out.
Yeah,
because I know you love that franchise. But you've said this is a great franchise, or this is a great game.
Yeah,
right. What is the hardest development challenge in that for you? In this being a great game, because to me, somebody had told me that Birdman, like the movie, was basically they tried to film it almost to look like one continuous take.
Yeah. Because
that's how theater works. And you could watch that movie and be like, meh, it's an alright movie, or, you could love it or hate it for different reasons, but there's a technical acumen there. And, for me, the real beauty of this game is how balanced the asymmetrical play is. When you talk about the one fuck-up, that is really... Programming that, developing that, building a game that way. If you've ever played League of Legends, you know what it's like to get completely snowballed by somebody.
Oh yeah,
right.
You just get mud stomped all day.
Oh yeah, and there's nothing you can do about it, and it's rough.
Yeah, I think it is that. I think it shows in their experience with Left 4 Dead, where the Left 4 Dead was the appetizer. Like, they were perfected, working on their thesis, and then that evolved as the PhD for that strategy, because you could see it in Left 4 Dead, where one mistake, you've cost your group members the game, and that's it. And I think, and there was some balance issues, like when Left 4 Dead 2 came out, like that jockey thing. I hated the jockey so much; it was the worst thing in the world.
What's the jockey?
The jockey's like a little zombie. It's like a little hunchback zombie that jumps up on your dude, and then it controls you and can steer you away anyway, like whatever direction you want. So you have to shoot the jockey off the back. But the thing is, a smart jockey just goes left, right, left, right, left, right, and starts flipping back and forth. And if you miss the jockey, you actually hit your friend with the bullets instead of... So it's just a good jockey, you'd never get them off and just walk them into a swarm of zombies, and that person was dead. Like, if a good jockey was playing, nothing you could do about it. Just
it just happened. Yeah. There's something that happened to you. Yeah, but the thing to me is I keep coming back to this point, I don't even care if this makes Game of the Year. I don't care what the critical reviews are. To me, the big litmus test is, can they put it on a professional circuit? Because that, to me, is where this lives or dies. Mm-hmm. Where Left 4 Dead had a community. People who loved Left 4 Dead loved. You were obsessed with Left 4 Dead.
I got a new computer just to play Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, the new one, Left 4 Dead 2. That was when you had the new computer, right?
No, Left 4 Dead 1. I was like, I can't play Left 4 Dead on. I am saving up. I'm building a new computer. Went down to Canada Computers, got like a sweet deal, and it's like, great. I'm good for like the next 8 years.
the moose of a computer you bought, but that's the thing is that like that game had a community.
Yeah.
Right. Battlefield has a community. Call of Duty has a very large community.
League of Legends has a community. Dota has a community.
And then, they have communities, but I think the difference is the watchability.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game, and I mean, like, if we talk about your review, what you think matters, to me, the test of this game is, could you polish it with good practiced announcers who have been, watching games on Twitch, playing games on Twitch? Could you put in an arena mode? Could you add a small, a small number, spectator mode? Could you give me 5 or 6 monsters to pick from?
Mm-hmm.
And the monsters, because you skill up during the game, there's a natural progression of how you build your character versus who's on the other team, right? So there's even a structure for, who plays first, who picks second, right? And it's a reactive series of picking that I think could totally work. You could pick a monster first, have somebody pick their team, and know that based on the team comp they picked, you need to balance your character in this way.
Actually, I think a good way to do that was that you don't know what the other side is picking.
But that's a blind pick, right?
Yeah.
And there are some hard counters. Like, if you didn't take certain hunters, if you didn't take the Wraith, would be extremely hard to catch.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That would be frustrating when you're just like...
But there's some hunters, if you take them, the Wraith is really easy to kill.
Yeah, oh yeah. And I mean, that's what kind of players you have, what kind of team you have. But I think, for me, and they show it. They show right away. Like, when they built the trailer for this, or when they're building the explanations, you can find the studio has a whole series of how-tos.
Yeah, they're all in the game, like explain the different powers and abilities and like the advanced abilities and stuff like that.
And they do this amazing clip of like we're not telling you. Usually get away from your launch pad, and then they show a Wraith player hiding behind an object at the starting point. The player's parachuting in at the beginning, and then they're sort of looking around and they run off in a different direction, and he's juked them by staying still, right? I saw that, and you can picture immediately what would happen in an auditorium with...
Yeah, people go nuts.
People would lose their mind, right? People would start screaming. They would be like, and they would be like slow capping. You could easily, cut to camera 3, and then you see like the 4 players who are benched while their 1 player is standing at the base, which you're not supposed to do, and geeking them out. People would lose their minds, right? There would be like, it wouldn't even matter how the rest of the game goes, right? The announcers would have a feel, and this is why,
Right, so here's a question for you then. Magical Theory World, this year at EVO in July in Las Vegas, Grand Finals of Evolve versus Grand Finals of Street Fighter. They're both happening.
You're never going to have another Diego moment, ever. Like, it's never going to happen.
No, but if they're both happening at the exact same time, which one do you go to?
Well, okay, now I'm biased. I got, I'm 33 years old, so I'm biased towards Street Fighter in a way that's really weird. I don't even know, though, because the thing is like, there's these magical moments that happen, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't play Smite anymore, but I played a good, solid 7 months of Smite. I was doing very well. I watched their whole first final, right? Like, I, took the weekend. That was what I did while I was, surfing. Like, it was always on my big TV. Mm-hmm. Totally worth watching. My friends have been obsessed with Counter-Strike, which is it's like the New Jersey of mobbed up, corrupt Counter-Strike players. But that's part of the drama, right? It's like wrestling. It's not just what's happening in the ring. It's about the backstory about like so and so got thrown off of what team.
It's the suspense.
This game has all the makings of that. It has, like you've said it. The hardest thing like in journalism is to find the narrative in a sports game, right?
Yeah.
You have to dig. Otherwise, it's just dudes throwing a ball. But when you figure out what that narrative that's happening behind the scenes is, this game has been, all the pieces are there to make this into a professional game.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To make it into a $750,000 prize pot. Let's see what the best European teams are doing. You'll see it in MOBAs. You'll see there's a preferential style of play in Asia. There's a preferential character in Asia.
That's what I was going to ask you.
North
I think it would be really cool to see if different global regions had their own different style of hunting, tracking, and monster play.
I think you will. I think, and that's you won't. you won't see it in a regionalized LAN game where you grab 4 players, like 4 friends of yours, and you play a game. I doubt you'd see it, or wouldn't have enough to notice it. You'd have to see a meta game occur, right? You'd have to see, I want to see players drawing optimized maps of how to avoid hunters, right? 2 great paths to take right off the bat that will take you, and we'll know how many randomized spots that large monsters can show up in, right? There's the monster with the health buff is often near a body of water. You know where those occur on the map. They're sort of anchored points.
Yeah.
Which is the same as a major buff in League of Legends. You'll know where they are. You'll see people optimizing for them, and you'll see preferential styles of play, right? Somebody who's a great sniper will play a killer Wraith, I think, right? There's a lot more sit back, a lot more way. The distance you can get on one of his abilities is it takes 4 seconds. It's this lightning strike you can see coming from a mile away. If you're a great sniper, if you're great at that class of character, you can sit back, you can watch that happen, you can blow it away. If you're great at Team Fortress and you've spied it up to the point where people actually yell at their screen, you play an amazing Wraith.
Yeah.
The first person to play an amazing Wraith is going to completely... And, there's even mentalities about, treating it like a team game. Mm-hmm. You'll see people play a monster differently, right? A culture with a strong team culture, right? If this game goes the way of basketball, Wraiths all day, right? I want to see, every player being like, how hard can I punk the opposing team? There's going to be regional differences. I want to see that happen. I want to see what happened when Asia's best team that loves high-end Wraith play.
Yeah.
And,
Wraith is the only way to go, and then the one dude from Jersey comes out, well, here's how I play Goliath.
Yeah, and you just see some dirty Goliath play, and you're like, classic Goliath play where it's just,
knocking people out of the air with rocks, stopping them midair, stuff like that.
But, that's a whole other skill set, right? They're drastically different. And I think there's going to be a lot of talk about those players, right? So, to me, you've got the hunter side of the equation is actually a lot more challenging. Mm-hmm. The coordination, the level of complexity that's going on there. They're 2 very different games. You could drop in solo onto an online game and just be a great monster, right? You can be a team of 4 that doesn't like to break it up because you can't. That should be a caveat. If you've got 4 players playing, you're never going to play a monster.
No, they do have that already. If you're in a party, you'll never be able to be the monster.
Yeah. So if you've got 3 friends you always play with, or you've got a group of even 2 you always play with, you will never monster.
If Dale or Bryce are on and I jump into their game, I can no longer be the monster because I'll always be playing with...
Yeah, well, because otherwise, you could table talk the hell out of it. I understand why it's done.
Oh, well, that's the other interesting thing is that pre- and post-game, all 5 players can talk to each other. As soon as you get into the character selection screen, they cut off the channels and the monsters by themselves, and the hunters are scheming and planning together.
Oh, that's great. That's good timing. That's really good timing. Yeah, I think that's a fantastic... Because, the idea that you could take the best troll players, in any time you've played any historical FPS, you've seen, there's always a person who just does their own thing. The guy with 256 sniper kills.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That guy's just he's you're losing objectives left, right, and center. You've lost 8 games in a row. This guy's on your team just racking up kills the entire time, right?
Top of the boards every single time, but you lost every single game.
That guy is not Mike chatting his team to figure out the objectives. That guy would be an amazing monster.
Yeah.
Right? You've always played... You play for objectives. When you play a first-person shooter, I obsess about objectives when I play them, right? The hunting side makes sense, right?
Yeah, PTFO.
Yeah. This game has no forgiveness for being bad at your class, though.
No. There's... I'd even say, there's, levels of no forgiveness. There's one... If you're not a human being who likes to interact with other human beings, you've already lost the game.
Yeah.
If you're not a human being who likes to do research on what they're doing, you've already lost the game. If you're not a human being that likes to see interactivity and cooperation and knowing when to lead and when to stay back, you've already lost the game.
There's a level of you could totally, there could definitely be a place for someone coaching this game. Everything about this game is so perfectly designed for an eSport.
We've got 4 hunters, DH or no DH monster.
I think that should be the argument. I think Europe's professional league...
We're also going coach, trainer.
Oh, 100%. This is how you end up with a house in a MOBA.
Yeah,
a MOBA house, right?
Sure.
And I want to see European leagues have to play 5 players or 4 players, and everybody has to step into the monster role. And I want to see the American professional circuit have a role for DH, like designated monster.
Just have the monster.
And be like, it's one plays a 4-player team of like, you know, everybody has to have their monster style and be ready to put in and be like, you know, Igor, you're the only person who can monster against this kind of concept. We need a great Wraith to come in here. And I want to see the American side just have one guy who cracks his knuckles and only plays Goliath. Exclusively comes in and he's like, you're like, oh no, you know, it's Ghost 32. He's the worst Goliath player in the world. Like, there's nothing you can do if this guy gets to level 3. Like, I want to see that argument and then be like, well, it's not very sporting. They have a DH. Like, they have a designated monster to come in. Like,
real Evolve players play without the DH rule, or the DM rule.
Like, that's a beautiful argument where you're like, what? You're not rounded. You can't step in and play your professional team's $1 million game as Hunter or as a monster anytime. Like, you're not even playing the game then if you've got a DH. And you're like, no, DH is a special skill that really has to be embraced. And to truly maximize the quality of the game and the excitement for the fans, you need to have that DH rule. Like, I want to see that argument so badly.
All right, so we're running out of time, so we're going to have to wrap this up. So, essentially, my favorite review is screw the numbers, screw the stars. If you had a for next-gen console or a PC, would you spend money on this game? Would you spend the $60?
Would I spend the $60?
Yeah.
I will spend the $60 in 6 months' time. I will spend it when I see the community is there, that it is going to become the next big esport, and I will be there, and I will come late to the party, and I will get stomped, and I will hate every dollar I spend, and I will hate the 10,000 achievements to unlock the 2% extra range you get for playing enough games. I will spend it in exactly 1 year's time. Definitely.
Nice. All right, well, that's it. So that's.
What about you? Before you go, wait, would you spend the money?
I've already spent the money on it.
Oh, so we've already spent the money.
Yeah,
so.
I've already spent it. I was like, as soon as I played the alpha, and I was like, this is really good. This is really interesting. And it was in November, and this is back when all the AAA titles were just crapping themselves on. So it's like, all right, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to do the year of no pre-orders. I'm going to see what this game is about first before I buy it. Then played the beta. I was like, I couldn't see. There's some balancing things, and it's one of the few times I've seen devs actively, and I've played a lot of Warcraft, I've played a lot of EverQuest, and there's not much connection between devs and community managers and player base.
They fix the problems?
They fix the problems as fast as they can, or as fast as they technically allow. Like, for example, they had a Shadows graphic glitch, which fucked up one of the maps pretty bad. And it was within 24 hours, big patch came in. Like, we're really sorry about this. Boom, patch, done. Okay. They're communicating. Like, they even had a contest to name the last monster. They're like...
And that's what you would do if this is an esports game. That's what I'm telling you. If you love first-person shooters, if you want something really complicated, you already spent the money. You're probably already listening to this, trying to justify your purchase. You were right. If you were waiting to see if this is a cultural phenomenon, it is going to be decided in the next 12 months. And then I will regret having to come to the party late, and I hope Gabe will fix it with a nice green light sale, and I'll have to, spend $400 on a brand new graphics card just to get myself near what it needs to operate at a professional level. But that'll be what I wait for.
All right, so that was Ryan. I'm Johnny. I guess we'll be back for Batman Arkham Knight when it comes out in. Yeah, it looks so good.
Don't even get me started. Then it's going to be a good year for video games.
Yeah, I think so. Good year. It's hard on the wallet because it's lots of great movies, lots of good video games this year.
Play more games, wear less pants.
Hey everybody, just real quick because we recorded this before some announcements were made. So it turns out that after recording this little podcast, Evolve has done some changes like adding in a spectator mode, and they're also going to have a tournament at PAX East in Boston this year, which is going to be great. We'll provide some links for the information so you can come check it out. Also, give myself a follow, Photo Guy, FOTO Guy 79 on Twitter and Instagram. You can also check out Ryan Thomas if you want to follow him at Ryan Tyler Thomas on Instagram and Twitter. It'll be great to hear from you guys, and hopefully you can check out all the stuff that happens at PAX East this weekend. And I think that's it, and hopefully nothing changes between now and then, and I hope you guys enjoyed the show.